When uyangibambezela umshini wami umshini wami wewa hawulethu umshini wami hawulethu umshini wami hawulethu umshini wami hawulethu umshini wami wewa hawulethu umshini wami awungithi musungibambezela umshini wami Happy Sunday, it's Penuel the Black Pen. I'm reading an article from iol.co.za. Zuma withdraws from his beloved ANC to vote for Umkhonto Wesizwe party. So I had dropped a video yesterday before the press conference by ex-president Jacob Zuma in his anticipated announcement. And on the Friday, if not the Thursday, I had tweeted from rumors that I'd heard that ex-president Jacob Zuma is going to be launching Umkhonto Wesizwe as a political party. And many people had been saying that it's rubbish. Some had speculated that he's joining the EFF. Some were speculating that he was confirming that he's going to be campaigning for the ANC. And then the press conference happened, and many people have been speaking about it until now and moving forward. So I want to read this article. I thought it was well written. It's published 15 hours ago from when I dropped this, or from when I'm recording this. Written by Mashudu Sadike. Former President Jacob Zuma has withdrawn from campaigning or voting for his beloved ANC, of which he has been a member for 64 years, to vote for the newly registered Umkhonto Wesizwe party. This is despite him insisting that he's still a member of the party until his last days. Zuma launched an attack on the current president of the ANC and country, Cyril Ramaphosa, calling him a proxy of white monopoly capital and insinuating that he had ended his party's future. He made the announcement at a special press briefing at the Ipeleng Center in Orlando East, Soweto, on Saturday. That was yesterday. During the announcement that was made by his daughter, Duduzile Zuma Sambudla, he said it saddened him that he had to make that decision after so many years. It was rumored that President Jacob Zuma was feeling under the weather, and thus his daughter Duduzile Zuma read his speech and his announcement on his behalf. Duduzile Zuma being the twin sister of Duduzane Zuma. In inverted commas, after much reflection, it truly saddens me that the ANC of today is not the once great movement that we loved and were prepared to lay down our lives for. I believe that it is not enough to withdraw from the ANC campaign, which will lead our people to more misery, poverty, racism, unemployment, deepening load shedding, and a government led by sellouts and apartheid collaborators. It is also our duty to guide our people on what to do in order to save our revolution from its enemies and to achieve the society envisaged in the Freedom Charter. I therefore wish to announce that in 2024 I will vote for the Umkhonto Wesizwe MK party. It has already been registered with the IEC with my knowledge and blessings in response to various pleas expressed to me by some religious leaders, Zuma said. Zuma accused Ramaphosa of suspected fraudulent manipulation of conference outcomes. He was referring to the party's elective conference that took place in Nasrec, where Ramaphosa defeated Zweli Mkhize for the ANC presidency last December 2022. In inverted commas again, given the death of democratically elected structures of the ANC and the role of money in determining electoral outcomes since the CR17 scandal of blatant white monopoly capture of the organization and the suspected fraudulent manipulation of conference outcomes, I have full sympathy with those comrades who believe that the ANC can no longer be saved from within its non-existent structures, Zuma said. He said something more bold, creative, and dramatic needed to be done, in inverted commas, by those who love the real ANC. Firstly, the ANC kept quiet when the powers of the president were taken away in the appointment of the chair of the Commission on so-called state capture. This symbolized an opportunistic amendment of the Constitution of South Africa. Secondly, the ANC kept quiet when it became clear that the 2017 National Conference and the position of president had been stolen or bought by forces outside of the organization for an amount ranging between the 300 million rand, which the president admitted under oath, and the estimated 1 billion rand or more found by the public protector in her Bosasa report, in which Ramaphosa was fingered. Thirdly, the turning point for me was the misguided statement made by the ANC president that the ANC is accused number one for corruption in South Africa. Neither the leadership of the ANC in the NEC nor the membership at the most recent national conference saw the need to challenge or change that incorrect statement. Fourthly, the ANC expelled its Secretary General, this is Ace Magashule, using the selective application of the so-called step-aside rule, but will now allow the president, who is also facing criminal charges, to top its list for the next election. Fifthly, the ANC stood idle when 400 black people were massacred in KwaZulu-Natal following the avoidable July 2021 unrest caused by the Constitutional Court and Mr. Raymond Zondo due to my imprisonment without trial under the ANC of Ramaphosa. Sixthly, the last straw was when, due to the Public Protector's 31 questions in the investigation of the Phala Phala scandal, she was suspended and then impeached by the ANC, the DA, and Freedom Front working together. I have now been told that the ANC of Ramaphosa has decided to vote in favor of the impeachment of Judge President Hlophe and Judge Motata. The ANC of Ramaphosa has declared war against progressive black professionals and intellectuals. Lastly, the ANC of Ramaphosa has plunged the country into darkness with load shedding, which has ruined the economy. This could have been easily avoided by keeping the best management, which successfully prevented load shedding and adopting nuclear energy many years ago. This was obviously Brian Molefe and Matsela Koko. Today we are told that nuclear power has suddenly become affordable, he said. Again, this is on iol.co.za, written by Mashudu Sadike. Zuma withdraws from his beloved ANC to vote for Umkhonto Wesizwe party. That's the article. Mkhonto Wesizwe was founded in 1961 amongst, by others, ex-president and the late Nelson Mandela as the military wing of the ANC. The African National Congress had been growing and had been trying to fight for the liberation of black people, for the right for black people to vote, all the way to black people having their land taken from them, unfairly and immorally so by the apartheid government. And at a point where they felt like talking no longer was being heard and it had no effect, they were like, it is time for us to actually build an army and for us to fight fire with fire because our people are being killed and oppressed and exploited. And that's when Umkhonto Wesizwe, the spear of the nation, was set up as the military wing. I understand the Pan-Africanist Congress of Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe had their own military wing. I think it was the APLA, of which still to this day there are APLA soldiers who are still sitting in jail under a black ANC government when Desmond Tutu's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, the TRC, did not allow them to be released as political prisoners fighting for the liberation of black people. Very, very spicy of ex-President Jacob Zuma. He is currently 81 years old. The man is old. I remember sitting with DJ Sbu. We interviewed Duduzane Zuma on the Hustlers Corner. And DJ Sbu was asking if President Zuma would be considering coming back into politics, etc. And Duduzane was like, bro, the guy is old. The guy is old. He's old. He's 81. The idea of him even becoming a leader of Umkhonto Wesizwe as a political party, I don't think is something that would be favored by even some of his supporters. He did say that they will be announcing the leadership structures of Umkhonto Wesizwe, the political party, in the early part of 2024, leading up to the national elections, of which there are rumors that they might be on the 22nd of May, 2024. Fikile Mbalula, the current Secretary General of the ANC, has said that they will be looking for legal action against the use of Umkhonto Wesizwe as a name, because as far as he knows, it is the intellectual property of the ANC and no one else should be using it. The party itself, it has been said, was registered in September of 2023 this year, and it is only now that President Jacob Zuma, ex-President Jacob Zuma, is saying that he will be voting for them. He is not joining them as a member, is what he's saying. I'm not joining them as a member. I will be voting for them. However, I will be an ANC member until I die because I'm ANC through and through, which is quite special and bittersweet. I know ex-President Thabo Mbeki is also expected to be heard if he will be campaigning for the Ramaphosa-led ANC into 2024. He has raised his own concerns in the recent past about how the ANC is being run. We had the veteran Mavuso Msimang leave recently, have a meeting with Fikile Mbalula, the SG, and then say that he's actually rejoining the party again. Ever since ex-President Thabo Mbeki left the ANC, we saw a breakaway of cope which unfortunately has really, really flopped. COPE under Mbazi Mashilowa, Mosiwa Likota, Terra Likota. COPE, we saw Mampela Rampele founding Ahang, which ended up being in some kind of coalition with the DA. It was also a flop as well. When ex-President Jacob Zuma was very comfortably kicked out of the ANC and asked to step down, which he did without issue, we saw then the birth of parties like the African Transformation Movement, I think it's called, ATM, led by Vuyo Zumula, who I've sat with on the panel show. People said it was a Zuma project, especially because Umzwanele Manyi went and joined as well as a member, which he left later to join the EFF. Mzwanele Manyi is now, I think, one of the parliamentary candidates for the EFF. The suspended public protector, Busisiwe Mkhwebane, who has sat with DJ Sbo on the Hustlers Corner, she's officially joined the EFF as well. She's also one of their members of parliament. We saw Carl Niehaus now has also joined the EFF. And this fight against Ramaphosa, the suspended Secretary General Ace Magashule, going to form his own African Congress of Transformation, ACT. The constant split of the ANC. I don't know if I'm forgetting under other parties. I know there's the BLF, Black First, Land First, Andile Mngxitama. I'm not sure if they're going to be running in the elections next year. From the DA, obviously, we saw the breakaway of Herman Mashaba into Action SA. We saw the breakaway of Musi Maimane into Build One South Africa. I'm not sure if I'm forgetting anyone else. Gayton McKenzie was also a huge Zuma loyalist, along with Kenny Gunene. They broke away from the ANC to form the Patriotic Alliance, the PA, which is going to be contesting next year as well. It's going to be interesting times. So many new political parties. We've got Mpho Kada's Arise SA. We've got Songezo Zibi's Rise Mzansi. I'm probably forgetting some of these other parties as well that are contesting, that are making themselves heard, that are pushing. The ANC is being split. We don't know if it is being done intentionally. Maybe at CODESA, these guys sat and said, look, at some point it will disintegrate into pieces. COPE, PA, ATM, it will split into pieces. Or if it's really just an issue of leadership and a destruction of what the ANC used to be, a space for robust engagement and debate, where there may be different factions, but they're allowed to exist within for the purposes of the structures. The president will never be bigger than the ANC. The Secretary General will never be bigger than the ANC. The ANC as a movement will have leaders, but it will be a big... Now it looks like at some point, maybe Zuma became bigger than the ANC. Maybe now, Cyril Ramaphosa is looking like he's bigger than the ANC, where even ANC critics cannot hold him to account. And it seems like he takes directive from people outside of the ANC, in particular, wealthy white people, whether local or foreign, especially when you look at the renewables agenda, when you look at how he's moved on international and in the international political geopolitics space, and some of the issues that the ANC have raised, which Ramaphosa seems to not engage. He doesn't engage journalists, and so a lot of people are frustrated. A lot of people that are pro-Jacob Zuma are supporting Zuma's call. Yesterday on X, I ran a poll. I just hadn't seen the results. Maybe I can check it for you while I'm here. But yeah, man, Umkhonto Wesizwe, I know as a military wing, was disbanded, I think this year by Cyril Ramaphosa. I think maybe during Zuma's years, towards the end of Zuma's years, the ANC Youth League was throttled as well. I think that was after the suspension of Julius Malema, Floyd Chibambo, and others. The ANC Youth League is trying to revive itself, even though it's really not looking very strong and very great. The ANC Women's League was looking weak at some point as well. The ANC Women's League, yabo Angie Motshekga, nabo Bathabile Dlamini. This consolidation of power, which I know Thabo Mbeki tried to do as well, in trying to extend his term and trying to consolidate power for himself, whereas Zuma believed in a more decentralized power, which some people would say also led to more widespread corruption because people could do as they please. Cyril defeated Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma at a conference and then later defeated Zweli Mkhize. People saying, look, it's democratic, it's the branches, but people saying the branch leaders themselves are being captured through money. At Nasrec was one of the arguments. So as it stands, I ran a poll yesterday on my Twitter X at GodPenwell, and I was asking, who are you voting for in 2024? I intentionally did this poll after President Jacob Zuma's press conference. As it stands now, I've got 8 hours left, but there's 2,438 votes. And the four options, who are you voting for in 2024? Cyril's ANC, Zuma's Umkhonto Wesizwe, another political party, or number 4, I'm not voting. So leading is another political party at 49%, almost half. Second to that is 30% for Zuma's Umkhonto Wesizwe, right on the heels of that press conference. 30% saying they're going to vote for Mkhonto Wesizwe based on what Zuma said. 15% saying I'm not voting. And then 7% saying Cyril's ANC being the lowest. Of course, for people that know on X, whenever you run these polls, EFF normally wins significantly. And what I'm going to do today after doing this is I'm going to, intentionally, I'm going to put Zuma's Mkhonto Wesizwe, I'm going to put the EFF, I'm going to put the ANC, and then I'm going to put another political party or not voting, just to see the difference now between the EFF and the MK party that Jacob Zuma is going to be voting for. 2,438 votes, 30% saying they're going to be voting for MK. Many people asking me as well, Pen, who should we vote for? And on different days, I'm like, I'm not voting. On other days, I'm like, I'm going to spoil my ballot. On other days, I'm like, hey, maybe I'm going to vote for Gayton McKenzie or another smaller party, because I am hell-bent on, I refuse to vote for the ANC. I don't even recognize Cyril Ramaphosa as my president. He is the president of South Africa, and I give him that respect, but I do not see leadership for me and for my cries and my needs in him. I will not vote for the DA. I do believe they have systematic racism that constantly spits out very talented people that are not leaning towards a white agenda. Another party that's coming up, who I've sat with the leader, Bongani Baloyi, Ishuluba, also a DA leader at some point who left. I will not be voting for the DA. I will not be voting for the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema, who I voted for in 2019. Very happy to add young people, fresh, passionate young people into parliament. But from that point to now, looking at how Julius moves, looking at how the EFF moves, I do believe in my heart that the EFF is not much different from the ANC. They will say whatever the people want to hear. We will nationalize the banks and the mines. We will expropriate land without compensation. But when I look at how the leaders move and how they live, I do believe that as soon as they get more significant power, they will collude with the DA. They've done it before. They will collude with an Action SA Herman Mashaba. They will focus on a capitalist agenda because their leaders love money. We've seen it. I do believe that just like Nelson Mandela back in the day when the ANC came in, who went to the World Economic Forum, who sat with Margaret Thatcher, I believe Julius Malema will change his tune when he gains more power, if he gains more power. And he'll be like, look, it is not as straightforward as we thought. We have to work with other forces. Otherwise, South Africa's economy will, I believe that is exactly what will happen. He's been having certain sellout positions when it comes to coalition governments, where he breaks his principles. So for me, I do not trust the EFF. Unfortunately, I do not like their border immigration policies, like many other people. So yeah, those three parties I'm definitely not voting for. Will I be voting for the MK? It is a new party. I do not know anything it stands for. I do not know the leaders. I do not know any work they've done. So from me, definitely not. I love Ubaba Msholozi very much for many things. As a proud African Zulu man with his Tembu, a polygamous family, with his children that love him so much, from Otutuzile to Otutuzane to Okuku to Otutu to Edward. I think it's Edward Zuma. His children love him. He's a great father. He's a great man. Amazing singer, amazing dancer, charismatic, very funny, very politically astute. An African president who looks like, acts like our fathers, our grandfathers. He doesn't feel like this, polished, speaking good English black person like Penwell. Feels like just the time. So very, very relatable. But many times I've criticized him. For Nkandla, I feel like he got a slap on the wrist from Thuli Madonsela, who's a public protector then. He should have been way more punished at that time. There was obviously the issue of the rape accusations by Ukwezi, which really left a bitter taste in many people's mouths. I do feel like many other ANC leaders, including Thabo Mbeki and Nelson Mandela, he enabled a lot of corruption, whether it is under the Guptas, whether it is under white monopoly capital of Rupert, Christo Visa, the Oppenheimers, whether it is through foreign entities like Glencore, Joe Biden and his people, it doesn't matter. I feel like those leaders have all been. The difference, obviously, with Cyril is that Cyril has a direct business interest from this corruption. We see it with Shanduka and the various joint ventures they have with the Pembani, with the Remgro, with the Glencore, etc. Whereas President Jacob Zuma, we didn't know him to have a company that makes money. President Thabo Mbeki, we didn't know him directly to have a company. Same with ex-President Nelson Mandela, and maybe even a Kgalema Motlanthe. So those are some of the issues, but I will not be supporting EMK. I don't know them. I don't know what they stand for. I don't know what the work they've done. But I'm proud of Jacob Zuma for at least giving his opinion. I do believe that ex-President Thabo Mbeki is going to be giving his voice soon. I'm hoping that Kgalema Motlanthe is going to be giving his voice soon. And we'll see from here where the party goes. 2024 is going to be very, very interesting. For me personally, I do believe what is more important than voting is who are you buying from? Where do you send your money to? Who are you working for? Where do you give your labor to? And are you doing community service? Those three things, who you buy from, who you work for, and the community service aspect, are more powerful than voting. Because if a big block of the masses, the poor masses, black, white, colored Indian in this country, was buying from certain businesses, those business owners get to have the money to influence politics and the economy. If they work intentionally for certain businesses, those businesses get to be powerful and they get to influence politics and the economy and society at large. And then the community service, where you are planting fruit trees, where you are running community gardens, where you have a neighborhood watch, where you as a community are closing potholes, where you as a community are deciding who gets to run the businesses in those plaza shops, that community becomes powerful and a powerful voice in society. We see it with AfriForum, we see it with Orania, we see it with the Soweto Parliament, we see it with Action Society, etc., etc. That is more important for me. Those are some of my views on ex-President Jacob Zuma's press conference on how he will be voting for Umkhonto Wesizwe, but he will remain an ANC member until his last breath. Looking forward to hearing some of your thoughts, criticisms, suggestions. Who are you voting for? What do you think? Etc., etc., etc. Have a great and blessed Sunday, and I'll catch up with you guys again soon. Penual, the sword pen, penual pene enso. Nyanrata. Nyanrata kaufela. I love you guys very much. I guess bye, Lee Have a great day. Shalom.